Hey Empoweristas, it's Alex Worley and I'm joined by Ashley Stahl. She is a career coach who helps 20 and 30 somethings land more job offers. That's pretty cool and important.
What you need.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what is the bottom line secret to landing more job offers? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it, but is there a bottom line?
There is a way to distill it, I think. I think it's about having conversations with people. You know, I think nobody's gonna get their dream job behind a computer. You know, you're gonna find it in a conversation. And so to me, that's what it's about.
Wow, so how do you start those conversations?
I think really having a goal in mind, but not an agenda. And I think there's a difference. I think people can have a goal in mind, but sometimes they judge themselves if they have an agenda. Like, I want this person to help me in this way. That, you know, it doesn't have to be an agenda like that, but having a goal of something you want to further in your life and having that at the front of your mind so that in the conversations you have your intentional.
So give us an example of what an intention could be.
I would say having a goal in mind, like a goal statement. So for example, and when you're job hunting, let's just take that because that's the easiest one.
Right.
I think one of the most powerful things you can do is explain what you're looking for without asking a favor of anybody. So for example, let's say we met at a networking event and we're having a conversation and you ask about me. You want to make sure you drop that goal statement. So for example, you could say something like, I'm hoping to transition into communications, ideally in the fashion industry. You put it out there like that. It's simple, it's not confrontational, and it's clear what you're looking to do. And it offers people the space to offer their help if they want to, but you're never saying, you know, do you know anybody in that industry? Can you help me? You're not putting them in a corner.
So that would be the agenda of like maybe asking for the favor too soon.
Yeah, you have a goal in mind, you put it out there, you're not asking favors, you're giving people spaciousness to offer their support if they want to. And I think people are generally really kind. And some people have that spirit where if they hear what you want, they want to offer you help.
If they have a natural connection they can make for you.
Yeah.
I love the specificity in that intention because that's a mistake I made right out of college is I would go for the, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. Like, I'm a chameleon, I can do anything, place me anywhere, you know?
You're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody,
right? Exactly. So there's so much power in just owning, first of all, knowing what you want, which is a battle in and of itself, but then also owning what you want too, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't know if they can help you unless they know what you're looking for.
Yeah, the world makes way for people who know where they're going.
Right. So sometimes you do help people find their authentic career if they don't know what that is. What's the first step to that?
You know, it's so interesting. I have a team of career coaches and everybody has their different process. For me, it's about really getting close to who they were as a kid, really pulling out what they're good at. So, for example, in my TED Talk, I talk about don't do what you love, do what you are first. What you love matters, but really who you are matters more. Because you might love, you know, something that doesn't line up with what you can really do, what your skills are, what you're naturally good at. And so the first thing I try to figure out is what kind of kid were they? How did they spend their time? What did they naturally incline themselves to do? What did people celebrate them for? I think that's huge. If you ever want to know what you're good at, ask people around you and they'll be quick to point it out.
Yeah.
Quicker than you could see it a lot of the times.
And you found your authentic career, so take us on that journey, how you found it.
Yeah, so I started in counterterrorism. And
whoa!
I know. Just a totally obvious career shift. Yeah, I know. It always kind of throws people. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll share. You know, I was always really interested. So that's the thing. I loved learning about government. When I was a kid, it was a common topic in my house was politics. It's very divisive in my house. My uncles are one way, my parents are the other, and our dinner table was always really loud and rowdy. And naturally, as a kid, I got really interested in the conversations they were having, and I had an opinion whether it was backed by anything or not when I was a kid. You know, just opinions. And so it was obvious for me when I got to college to major in political science or government. I ended up taking a class in college where I was taught how to network, and it was a 1-month networking class, and I wish that colleges would do this. They took us to Washington, D.C., and every day we would wake up and we would meet a different person in international affairs, whether it was a diplomat at the State Department or somebody in the Secret Service talking about the crazy things that the White House has to deal with. And I was absolutely fascinated, but what changed my life was being able to have conversations with these people and seeing how quickly they wanted to help me. And so I ended up pursuing counterterrorism. I got my master's degree, did everything I could. I went to London for grad school, to a school that I thought they would cherry pick people for the CIA. And, did the best I could, got the best education I could, did everything right, you know, everything they told me to do. I got the degree, I did the internships, and I came home to Los Angeles, started applying for jobs, and ended up getting a dead-end job in LA. Just could not master the job hunt, and that's what makes what I do now so meaningful, is that I understand.
You've been there.
I've been there. So I think there's a lot of capable people just like you and I roaming around, and the only thing that really is standing between them and all that they want is a skill set, and it's so learnable, and it takes commitment. And
but
so
they don't teach it to you
they
in
don't
college,
teach it,
which is really actually crazy when you think about
the
it.
The entire millennial generation is walking around right now looking for jobs with no education on how to write a resume, how to negotiate salary. It's just a total gap in our system that I wanted to fill. And so I didn't know this, you know, at the time, obviously, when I was pursuing this career. But I ended up getting this dead-end job, and I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken because it was so far from what I wanted to do. It was so far from all the work that I put in. And I was a sport. I had nice people around me. I worked. But I started looking online, and I saw all these job hunting career fairs in Washington, D.C. Next thing I knew, I quit my job, moved to D.C., had $2,500 in my bank account. No idea how I was going to get that. You know, coming to LA, I don't know if you're from, are you from LA?
No, Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. So you've probably had that experience of just showing up. I had a row house on Constitution Avenue with bed bugs, and you know, that's a whole nother thing.
A whole nother story.
But I really, that fire in me, I knew I had no other option. It was either come home broken, jobless, or move to DC and make something happen with the funds that I had left. I networked with every person under the sun. I mean, anyone who would say yes to me, I would sit down with them, and after falling on my face, looking like a hot mess most of the time, I eventually just figured out, like, this is how you talk to people. And I found things like my goal statement. I found that there are certain things I did that just opened doors. And I started to come up with a system, a step-by-step system that started getting me job interviews and job offers, and I eventually took a job running a program for the Pentagon, which was like, you know, huge transformation. In 6 weeks, I went from this dead-end admin job, making barely a minimum wage, you know, to a management job. I tripled my salaries, almost making 6 figures.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy transformation. And what it showed me, and I think this is really my why behind everything I do, is how much people really resign to the belief that their life is where it is right now. I don't think that's true. You know, I think you can change your circumstances today, right now, any given time. You can walk out of that job you hate, you can get on a plane and go travel. Everybody has so much more power than they raise their awareness to see. And I think that this shift of, oh my gosh, I just went from making minimum wage to an executive for the Pentagon, replacing a colonel in his job in his 60s, you know, and I'm 22, 23 years old. Just awakened my senses to, if I grab my life by the reins, if I learn everything that I need to learn with the skill set of getting jobs, talking to people, the world's my oyster.
What made you decide, I want to help others do this?
You know, I'm a supporter, I'm sensitive, things hurt my feelings. I'm not cut out for the military-based life. I had to travel to multiple military bases and watch these people deploy and hope that they would come back, and a lot of them did, safely. Some of them didn't, you know, and I'm too sensitive for that. And so what I found was all my friends, meanwhile, are asking me in DC, how'd you get that job? People from grad school in London, you know, saying, you know, I'm still job hunting. I got this minimum wage job. How'd you do that? And I got such a high off of saying, well, this is how you do it, and follow these steps. And I promise you,
and it's actually simpler than you would think.
It is. It is. I think it's all the chaotic energy people put into their careers.
It's attainable.
Yeah. It just takes some focus. And so people started following it, started getting results, you know, increases, new jobs. And I found that I love the thrill of the job hunt more than I'm ever going to love being in a job. The more I started to help people, the more they had financial results, the more they had quality of life changing results. People would say to me, I would pay thousands of dollars for what you just helped me figure out. And I just thought, yeah, but you know, career coach, that sounds like unemployed. You know, like I just totally judged it. And then eventually I ended up hiring my own high-level coach and working on my own mindset, because you can't catch up with logistics if your mind doesn't think it's possible, you know? You have to believe something's possible to put the energy into it. And so I started to see, wow, this is really possible. I started getting clients, my practice was full, and it was just really amazing and meaningful to see what people's lives would look like when they implemented the work.
Yeah, no, I think it can be scary to pursue something unconventional because our society does have so many judgments around things. And sometimes when you're starting something new and you're an entrepreneur, like you said, people go, oh, that just means that you're like self-employed. Yeah, unemployed is what it is. But really it's like, no, like these are the daring ones. These are the creative ones, you know? So what's just a little insight you can give into shifting that mindset?
You know, you hit on something that really sits with me because look, 71% of the workforce is job hunting any given day of the week. And so I think it's safe to assume that the majority of people are not thrilled in their jobs, right? If they're looking for something else.
Right.
But who do we listen to when we're thinking about our career choices in life? The unhappy majority, right?
Right.
Everyone who's in that majority saying, be a lawyer, be a doctor, take this path. It's so linear. And all the research shows that the non-linear career paths are not only the most interesting ones, but people have a lot of happiness in that.
Which is most important at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the point. And I really learned that. And I learned that also creating success, financial success, business success. I find out that no matter what I look like on social media, no matter how much money comes in or goes out, if I'm not happy, like, I'm losing.
Why? What does it matter?
Money without fulfillment, it's failure.
Another thing I liked about that stat that you shared is that also implies that the majority of people aren't going after the job you want.
Yeah.
You know, so that just means that, like, hey, there's a lot of opportunity there, you know, and it's not to say that it's not competitive because it always is, but there's always room for more people.
Always room on, it's quiet on top.
Yeah.
It's quiet. It's
Expand on that.
Yeah, I just think and it's also about commitment, right? Like John Assaraf, best-selling author, he says, when you're interested, you do what's convenient, but when you're committed, you do whatever it takes. And I just love that because there's too many people that are interested, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, be committed or get out, you know? And I think the people who are committed, they're few and far between. And it's like Einstein, you know, I'm not smarter, I stick with problems longer. You know, I think the committed people, they keep pushing and they make it to the top, and there's only so many other committed people who are up there who can resonate, because it's hard. And you've got to be crazy to do something you don't like doing because it's hard and it's tiring if you don't like it. And so I think that there's not a lot of people who keep that commitment and passion and connection to why they're doing what they're doing alive enough to make it to the top.
Yeah, so it's about finding something that you're passionate about, and that's going to look different for everyone, and success looks different for everyone.
Yeah, you have to define it on your terms.
Yeah, totally, because again, it's at the end of the day, it's about being happy.
Yeah, it is, and I've learned that in such a deep way in what I'm doing. You know, for example, I had a private practice that was booked in 6 months, but I had so many clients that no matter how much I loved serving them, I wasn't taking care of myself. You know, like I would pull my last shred of energy in the name of service to my clients, and it was almost like I made myself this sacrificial lamb thinking, well, it's in the name of service, but really the best service I could do is taking care of myself first so that I have a full cup to give.
And now you have more to give.
Yeah, I do. And not just that, but I've shifted my business. Now it's an online business. There's thousands of job hunters in my online course.
You're reaching even more than at the end of the day.
Yeah, playing bigger, you know? And with playing bigger comes more criticism, more everything. Everything's louder, you know? Things that I never would have assumed, you know?
Give us some insight into that.
Yeah, it's funny. My newsletter, so for example,
which I get and love.
Yeah, thank you. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Read it.
It's very authentic and personable.
Yeah, it is so sacred to me, that, because I think newsletters for a lot of information product people who sell things online, they become kind of like selly, you know?
Yeah.
And
those are the ones that get deleted right away.
They get deleted, right. And then at the same time, we live in a world where everybody's making sales all day long. Like just on my way here, I was on the phone and I said to my friend, like, you have to go to this new restaurant. It was so good. It was so good. And I kind of realized when I got off the phone, like, I just closed a sale.
Yeah.
You know, like my friend's gonna go there tonight. The world lives on sales. So at the same time, it's like, how do you sell things in the world that you believe in, but also without being off-putting to people? And so my newsletter is the one place where I don't really sell anything. I just kind of love and serve.
Add value.
Add value. Add value, build relationship. And I find that it's the only place in my business where I really move myself. I really sit down, and the only intention I have is to speak from my heart. And it's an example of what can be hard, because for example, there was one I wrote weeks ago about my dad and how he's a magic person in my life, and asking the reader, like, who's magic in your life? What are they doing for your life, for your career? Have you thanked them? And, you know, a couple 100,000 people will get that email. And so maybe, you know, 100 people will write back and say, that was really meaningful for me.
Right.
And that's a challenge in and of itself. Do I judge myself for not being able to write back to everybody? Do I try to write back to everybody, right? Because I'm playing bigger, so there's more of a response. So how do I keep up? Right?
Yeah.
And how do I be at peace with myself? Because people pour their hearts out to me and I want to write back, but I also, you know, want to close the computer at 8.
Yeah.
So that's a huge personal
balance.
challenge. Balance is huge. Not judging yourself if other people don't receive it in a good way. You know, Warren Buffett says the most successful people in the room say no almost all the time. It's true, like you have to, but you also have to say yes to things that feel real for you, feel 100% for you. So that's like a light thing. Another thing is criticism. People criticize me all day, you know. I get maybe a few responses just about every week of, I don't care about your dad, get me off this newsletter.
Oh my gosh, it's like just unsubscribe,
right.
It's easy.
I'm like, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, is the button not showing?
Because I'm like, I feel like they must have seen it.
But yeah, I'll forward my team, please unsubscribe them, you know. But it's like, you're not for everyone.
Yeah.
And being able to
being okay with that.
That is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard because criticism is one thing, but we live in a world on social media, on the internet, where criticism is way more public. It's not just in an email where you have to deal with yourself. It's on social media, it's on people's blogs. People are really free, and I think with themselves and what they say, and I just think, you know what, I'm the man in the arena, I'm the woman in the arena, I have dirt on my face, and I try to look at the criticism and think to myself, well, if they're not in the arena, I'm not going to listen. And I also, at the same time, look for patterns. Is there a pattern in feedback that I can learn from? Because that's gold. It really puts a focus on the relationship you have with yourself. Because what are you going to do? You're either going to stop creating, or you're going to keep creating and use it as feedback, or turn your cheek to the things that aren't kind, you know?
That deserves a round of applause.
Preach.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Love it. No, that's so powerful.
And you know it, being someone who moved here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so when you first go to your website, you see right away crafting the perfect elevator pitch.
Yes.
So tell us in a nutshell, how do you craft the perfect elevator pitch?
Yeah, I think it's about knowing your why. There's a couple key parts. There's many parts to my formula, but and people can get it. I have a free guide on there. But the first part is your story. So, for example, earlier in this conversation, you said, you know, what brought you into counterterrorism? That's not obvious, you know, like. And I said I grew up in a house where the news was always on. From a young age, I was talking about politics. So if you're in a job interview, if you're in a networking conversation, you want the people you're talking with to kind of feel connected to why you're doing what you're doing, the deep roots that you have towards it. So I would say, take your story, really think, like, why are you doing what you're doing? And lead with the skill set. So you're interviewing people, you have to be a people person, you have to be quick on your feet.
Yep.
You know, really thinking, like, where does that trace back into my life? You know, so people will be like, why are you a host? It's like, well, my whole life I've been talking to people. When I was a kid, I used to have my own, you know, it's
my
really,
dad literally used to videotape me on the old 90s camcorder
of
me like talking to my friends.
Yeah, exactly. And I think not just that, but being, and maybe some people, like, for example, me becoming a career coach, helping people with their job hunt, helping people, that wasn't an obvious one. That wasn't something that really I had evidence for in my childhood.
Right.
But there was a defining moment in my life that brought me there. So that became my story. So it's really, does your story come from your childhood, or does it come from some sort of defining moment in your life? Usually it's one of the two.
Okay. And lastly, what is your definition of empowerment?
I think my definition of empowerment is honesty. You know, we live in a world where on social media, everybody is spraying an entire vision of what their life may or may not be. And I don't judge that so much as wonder, you know, who are they really? What do they actually like beyond these beautiful images and these vacations that they're showing? Like, who are they really? And why are we all so afraid to be honest about that? You know, honest about the things we've been through. And that's what I've built my business and my career on, is my honesty.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and wisdom today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So nice.
And let us know what your definition of empowerment is using hashtag Empowerista, and we'll show you some social media love. A special thank you to our friends at Young Potential Development, who are helping create a new generation of empowered women through their educational programs. On September 1st on Kickstarter, they will launch the cube that you see right here. It's made up of 11 interactive videos to help teens develop the entrepreneurial skills they need to discover their potential, develop their skills, and ultimately achieve their life goals. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Twitter @thecube now.